And winter is coming.
Not winter, you idiot. Summer's coming.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
So I had originally posted this video of me hooking up my fan, and a gentleman by the name of Mike Merrill, he's helped me on a couple of different things, and just been interested in the process that I've been going through, and he is way more knowledgeable about things than I am. And he said, "Hold on, cat daddy." That's not his exact words. I'll put a picture of it in here. He's always been very nice, but he said, "Hold on, cat daddy. You may want to put a relay in there. It's an easy process and it'll help you out." So I recently went to the store and bought me some, stuff to probably a little overkill. A little 10 gauge wire, automotive relay, and some 8 gauge wire. It looks like I went off of what someone else had posted on YouTube, and it was just sort of a shade tree quick fix type of process to get this fan up and running. So I'm fixing to go back in, readdress everything, and hopefully do it the right way this time. Thanks, Mike. Meanwhile, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the original way that I hooked it up, and that is going to be your faster, more streamlined, but not safer way of hooking it up, but it would get you by in a pinch. And then I'm going to go show you the second way, probably the safest, most efficient way to hook it up, and that'll be on the back side of this video. I am not a mechanic. I am not an electrician. This is just what I have found to work best for me. Okay, so summer is coming, and it's going to start getting hotter. And I have an AC unit, so there's a tendency for, if I'm not stalled somewhere, but sitting somewhere at a light or having to set for any amount of time, that maybe my engine's going to start getting, overheated. So I started looking at some options for being able to do like a fan on my radiator. So this is what I come up with. These quick mount nylon mounting rods to mount it. I bought a couple of different switches. The reason I bought 2 different switches, and I'll probably end up going with this one, is because it's got these holes right here. So there's a hole in my dash, and what I plan on doing, if this fits, is just, and then if it doesn't, I'll have to drill it to fit, but I plan on just attaching something right there because it's really hard for me to get to where this hole is. I'm just planning on attaching something and just fishing it up through that hole. Intuition. But that's my plan. This is a 35 amp switch that'll come right out of the dash. Also got some wire conduit. You can do it! And some other, 14 gauge wire. It shows to have a 35 watt fuse, so I'll be hooking that up as well, and I'll go right now and show you the hole that I plan on putting it in the dash. So I've got an empty hole right here, and so the plan is to stick that switch through there and just have it to where I can toggle up and down, just whenever I'm setting, or I feel like the water temp's getting too high or whatever it may be, I can toggle that fan on. So okay, so the first thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to connect the fan to the radiator, and I'm going to use a couple of these connecting rods and just get in here and give it the good old college try and see if I can't get it to mount up. From my understanding, you just take this rod, you just fish it through the blade right here, and we are through. You can, I think you can probably see there's a little black cable right there. So now we're going to fish it through there, and there it is. You do want to make sure that this is setting as flush as possible. You don't want any gap between the fan and the radiator, because if you do have the gap, you're going to lose some of that pulling and pushing of air. Okay, so all you have to do now is just cinch these in. All right, so it is securely on there now. Just for S&Gs, I'm going to show y'all that the fan works. Now see, I believe I'm gonna have to pull air on this one. I think I have to reverse it, but this will at least show you maybe that it's working. The next phase that I'll have is I will need to run the hot wire, or whatever wire I want. It's going to be the red wire. I'm going to run the red wire into the cab to the switch, and then run another wire back to where I'll end up cutting this off, but I'll attach in here to where this 35 amp fuse is, and then we will just put this bad boy on right here and end up, you know, screwing this down to the firewall or something like that. But now becomes the hardest part, I would think, of this little adventure, and that is to find a hole to get into.
It looks like I'm a wreck. It's in the hole! It's in the hole! Hey,
Also have a hole right there. This is where the heater box used to be. Let me see if I can find that. That's pretty easy to get to too. Okay, so I fished my first wire. I use this hole right here because it'll be easier for me to feed it back out of. But I'm gonna connect this and then get over to my switch and connect it into there. And then eventually we'll start the process of fishing that back out. Fishing this back out. I've got one of these little grabber deals. I'll show you what that exactly is, but it's for grabbing tools in unique places. But oh yeah, this was the tool that I used. It's got like a deal, a plunger right here. And then this. I've got it attached, or ran, down in here if you can see that, and I'm just going to try to attach that to this, and then slowly pull it back. Raise this camera up so y'all. Okay, so we are getting, oh, let me make sure that all this is getting caught on camera. Okay, so y'all can see here that that little method does work. At least it worked for my application. So now what I have to do is cut off enough cord to run back through the hole and tie it into everything, and we're pretty close to being done now. Pretty close. I need to go in here and cut. I secured the line down to the shroud, or the fan. So I need to cut off these little clips. Zip tie that down right there. One of the greatest inventions ever made, zip ties. And I say that with 100% sincerity. Zip ties will get you out of a bind. Quick, fast, in a hurry. All right, moment of truth. Let's go back up there and see if it works.
Oh, here. It's running.
and it's blowing this way. And it is blowing hot air. So it's doing something. Better than nothing for sure. And this air is hot, hot, hot. Okay, so this is the fastest, easiest, and albeit not the safest way to wire up your fan. So you take the hot line straight from the fan into the cab of your vehicle to the switch. And then from that switch, you take another line back to the 35 amp inline fuse that is connected to the hot side of your solenoid. You also want to ground out your fan on the negative side of the solenoid. Fastest, easiest, not the safest. Okay, it is finished. The only thing I need to do is go back in and attach this down to the fender well. So that first job that I did, it would work, okay? But that's just a short fix. What I did is I took, this is my hot wire, I directly run it into an inline 35 amp fuse. From that fuse, I ran it into this 40 amp relay. And I'll break down which wires and everything go down. I'll try to do some kind of graph or drawing or something, but I ran it into this relay. And then from that relay, I ran this line out and it goes directly into the fan. Then I had to ground all this. And so I grounded the fan. I also I grounded the relay, and then I ran a 10 gauge wire from this relay into the cab, hooked it up to the switch, and then I come back in with an 8 ground cord and then tapped it right into my battery. So that should be done now. Like I said, I'll draw it out on how I did and connected everything. Please disconnect your battery before starting this process. This is the diagram I've created after I wired in the relay. I started with a hot wire coming from the solenoid that was connected to a 35 amp inline fuse that connected to the 30 on the relay. From there, I connected the hot wire from the fan into the 87 slot. I ran the ground that is in purple and black, I ran it over to the negative or the ground of my solenoid. Next, I also grounded the relay from the 85 spot, also in purple and black, on the negative of the solenoid. I then ran a hot line, which was 10 gauge wire, from the 86 into the cab of my truck and connected it to my switch. From the switch, I ran an 8 gauge wire back into the positive terminal of the battery. This is how I connected the relay. Okay, so for the moment of truth, I'm going to just try to touch what should connect the circuit to the positive over here. The fan should not start. Nothing. Okay, so the switch is on. I should have fan now, but the moment of truth will be near. Yeah! Yes, sir. I hope y'all can just tell the pure joy to do all that wiring. I'm not a mechanic, folks. I am just not a mechanic, and I dang sure ain't an electrician. So the fact that I was able to wire this from the jump, and then I messed up and I went back in and rewired everything, and the switch works, man, that's what I'm talking about.